Okay, Facebook. So tonight, I do have Brother Akil scheduled to come on, and what we want to do is talk about quote back to school. Uh, here in Senatobia, they start school tomorrow. Tomorrow, and I think North Panola is next week, and I'm sure many others will follow suit. So I wanted him to come on, and we can kind of talk about some of the things that we need to be doing to get us and our children back ready for school, because it's not just about our children, it's us too. I just told Kenzie, I said, this is going to be a great school year. We're going to make all A's this year, and we're going to remain focused and get enough rest, and we're going to eat better so that we can be better students, because I'm always learning as well as she is when she's at school. So hopefully Brother Akil will come on soon and talk about math, um, and how we can prepare our students to be better math students, how we can uh, get rid of some of that anxiety when it comes to math, right? Because as parents, as the tutors, so to speak, we have that math anxiety as well. And sometimes we pass it on unknowingly to our children. And so, Brother Keel hopefully will be coming on soon so that he can talk about uh, how he can help with that math anxiety. I know he has helped me tremendously when it comes to math, and how I have become better equipped to help my granddaughter. Yay, there he is. All right, so I'm gonna bring Brother Kill on, and I'm just gonna let him kind of have it. Greetings, bro. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. A little tired, but that's good though. That means I'm working
Yeah.
hard.
Okay, well, I'm not real tired, so maybe I'm not working hard enough.
You probably,
Hey,
I'm
but
sure.
look, you, Barbara Rudy, Mama, y'all really inspire me. So I've been doing some writing this summer. So hopefully, uh, that'll be coming out shortly. I'm so uh, interested and blown away by some of the Mississippi warriors, liberators, workers that we had here in the state. And so I'm working on that Mississippi Magnificence activity book for children, and I'm also working on Mississippi Goddamn
Okay.
uh, to talk about the people, placing, and the events that uh, made Mississippi infamous, but helped shape the world. So yeah, so we're gonna have some stuff coming up, and also the calendar for 2025. So I've been doing a lot of writing and reading and researching this summer. So it's going fast. And before you came on, I was just telling the people who are viewing that, we got another school year coming up, 24-25. And I was so discombobulated today because Mackenzie starts school tomorrow. They start school tomorrow here in Senatobia. And then a few others will start next week. And so just trying to make sure everything is straight, school supplies, hairdo, outfit, all that stuff that comes with the first day of school. But I want you to come on and just and talk to the people, because I was also talking about, we have to be ready too, as parents, as guardians. We have to be prepared for the upcoming school year, because I told Kenzie, I said it's gonna be a great year, fourth grade. We're gonna make all A's, we're gonna get that math done, get rid of that math anxiety with Brother Akil. So I'm just gonna give you the floor, and let you talk to the audience.
Yeah. Well, first, as always, thank you for bringing me on. Let me, share your platform, and I want to say that it's critical and very important, like the work that you're doing, like we're writing those books, because it really is our responsibility to teach our own children. So the more resources that we have as a community that we can use, as parents, as grandparents, uncles, aunts, you know, on children, the better off we'll be. So, because I think we definitely have to get out of the mindset of having the expectation that schools that we don't control, and institutions that we don't control, that are not beholden to us, if sometimes there's a black principal there or some black assistant principals, even, they have some control. They may be well meaning, but they still have somebody to answer to. So, they're going to be limited, in terms of what they can do, and how far they can go to really provide our children with what we really need. So, so yeah, it's definitely critical that, you're creating your own content and your own books that we can use. And you refer us to the books that have already been written, as you already do, on a regular basis. So yeah, so I want to encourage you to just continue doing that work, because it's definitely needed. And yeah, that's key. That's like a key. Like, actually, I don't think we speak enough about just the concept of like just creating our own content and our own books and our own resource guides and study guides, and you know because that's just very, it's imperative, actually, I would say.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's really just imperative, you know so yeah, so I wanted to come on because I was talking to a brother the other day, that does some work with one of the colleges out in California, and I was explaining to him, the work I'm doing in terms of hystematics. And if anybody doesn't know what hystematics is, that's kind of like, my baby. Like, kind of, it's a teaching framework that I've been working on more formally since 2019, but it's kind of been kind of part and parcel of my teaching methodology since I started teaching, just like using Black history to teach mathematics and using mathematics to teach Black history, vice versa. Um, so it's based on, like, what I'm doing this summer with some young people down here in Baltimore, where I was raised at. Um, is I've identified 5 different books that I wanted them to at least be exposed to, because these are books that, like, again, schools we don't control. These books might
Mhm.
not be in their curriculum, so I want to make sure that they have exposure to the narrative of Frederick Douglass, also the autobiography of Malcolm X, also Asada by Asada Shakur, her autobiography, also Black Power by Kwame Ture and Charles V. Hamilton,
Mhm.
and The Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. I want to make sure that our young people are exposed to those books, and it's not like a top 5, but those are at least 5 books that definitely our young people, I think, should be exposed to. So what we're doing is, like, each week we pick a different book, and then what I do is I'm basically replacing the typical math textbook, kind of throwing that out the window, and replacing it with these books. So I have created curriculum based on math content from the information in those books. So, like, word problems from information in those books. Sometimes we'll be reading, and then we'll come across a mathematical term that's used in a different context. And sometimes it's not a completely different context, but maybe a slightly different context. In the book, like today, we're covering Black Power this week. This is like, how, like, Discovery Channel got Shark Week. This is
Mhm.
next program. This is Black Power Week, because this is the book that we're covering this week. So we're covering Black Power. And Kwame Ture in his writing was talking about, he used the term square, but in the context of, like, something being square business or things being squared away. So then we pivoted, and then we started talking about the perfect squares, from 1 squared well, originally we was going to go to 25 squared, but we ended up going up to 40 squared. And because I was telling the students yesterday, I was like, listen, sometimes the information that we're presented with, the books we're presented with, kind of limit our thinking, because a lot of us, we think that memorizing up to 12 times 12 is the last perfect square that you need to know, only because those marble composition books that we all got when we was younger, and that they still print to this day, they got the multiplication table in the back that only goes up to 144 anyway. So we think that that's the last number we need to memorize only. But if somebody had said, well, you know what, we should go up to 15 times 15, go up to 225, then we think we should know up to 15 times 15, and we would know the 13 facts, the 14 facts, and the 15 facts. So the thing I was telling them today is, like, a lot of mathematics courses that they take this upcoming school year and beyond will be a lot easier if they have certain information memorized. They just know off the top of their head, like, just like they should know what 9 squared is. That's 81. They should know that, like, 15 squared is 225, or 20 squared is 400. So I originally intended to go up to 25, but the students was like, some of them was more motivated, so they wanted to go up to 30, and then we went from 30. We noticed a pattern in the numbers in the perfect squares from between 20 and 30, which can help you to memorize them. So then I was like, well, hold up. Like, let's see if there's a pattern in the perfect squares from 30 squared to 40 squared. And there was a little bit, but, it wasn't as easy to memorize, easy to see as was the pattern that we recognize between 20 squared and 30 squared. So that's like one way we use systematics. Like we read in the book, boom, we come across in a paragraph a word that is used mathematically also. So we see the word square. And then I could have took a geometry approach with it. We could have went and started doing problems dealing with finding the area of a square, finding the perimeter of a square, or anything like that, or talking about the different characteristics of a square, like the angle measurements, or anything like that, or the interior angle measurement, or just to like merge reading with mathematics. And as I was saying, I know I kind of went off on a tangent. See, that's a math term too, tangent. But I went off on a tangent because I was talking about how I was chopping it up with this brother out in California, and it was like something so obvious that I had never taken into consideration until that conversation was, when I think about systematics, I think about Black history. I don't think about the fact that with the books that we're covering, these are books that will be covered and read in an English class or ELA class. So really it's a way I'm actually also combining, ELA and, English coursework with math coursework. But I was thinking about it only from the concept of combining Black history with math. So I'm really and I'm just thinking about that more and more. Like, okay, so yeah, so because he was mentioning to me was there was a conference out in actually New Orleans back in June that I had considered going to. I ended up not going. I had a lot going on in June, so I couldn't make it. But and speaking of New Orleans, shout out to those that was involved, our ancestors that was involved in that German coast slave rebellion in 1811, Charles de Lande and people like that. That had these white folks in this country scared to death, actually. But shout out to them. Whenever I think of New Orleans, I think of them brothers and sisters. But the conference was in New Orleans, and it was a joint conference of National Council of Teachers of Mathematics and the National Council of Teachers of English. And he was like, bro, I've never heard of anything like this. Like, that would have been perfect for this conference. I think you should definitely present on this at the next time they either do a joint conference or just an NCTM conference. So when he said that, I was like, yeah, that does make sense, because I wasn't even thinking about systematics in that regard, because the name is, I combine, it's a portmanteau. I like that word. I like using that word whenever I get the chance, right?
Portmanteau. Okay.
Yeah, you create a new word from combining two other words. I like manipulating these European languages, for my benefit. But without privileging them, of course, because I don't care too much about them. They're just a tool. You know what I'm saying? A lot of other stuff that we get from Western society. But yeah, so I've been very focused on just the history aspect combined with the math aspect, and not as much the English. But then I was like, yeah, because this English teachers, somewhere that, might be a little radical, that might have, a SATA on their reading list on their syllabus this year, or might have Autobiography of Malcolm X on their syllabus this year. So, I would think if I was an English teacher, those would definitely be books that would be in my syllabus. And and I'm just thinking of the possibilities. Imagine, you're reading those books, we're engaging those texts, and you're also learning pre-calculus concepts at the same time, or trigonometry concepts and arithmetic concepts and statistics concepts. Something we did, you'll like this. We did an exercise the other day dealing with statistics, and what I had the students do is, use their smartphones and do some research. And I just threw names up there on the board of noteworthy African and African American people that they probably won't learn about in school. I got one of my Marcus Garvey t-shirts on today. Garvey was on the list. I put one of Garvey's wives, his Garvey's second wife, Amy Jacques Garvey. No Ashwa Garvey, but I wanted to pick one. And she was the one I know that was very instrumental with publishing a lot of his work when he went to jail.
Right.
About that. So I I put her up there. I put a lot of people up there: Kwame Ture, Walter Rodney, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Asada Shakur, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ida B. Wells, Mary McCall Bethune, all these people. And I had them research what year they were born in, and what year they made transition. And then they had to calculate, okay, how long did they live? How many years?
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the students, took it to another level and they got more specific with it because they were saying like they started arguing some of them because they was like, nah, because he was only 39 or he was actually only 38 because he passed away before his birthday. He didn't
Okay.
have a birthday on that. So they was thinking mathematically, and I was intrigued by that. So I was proud of them. And but it was a statistics assignment and a practice because we collected the data. We compiled the data of the lifespans of all these people. And then I said, okay, well now we're gonna find the mean of all this data. We're gonna find the median of all this data. We're gonna find the mode if there is a mode. And then for the young people, I left. Oh, we found the range too, the range of the data. And for the young group, because I got a middle school group and I got a high school group. So for the middle school group, we left it at that. But for the high schoolers, we went a little further. We got into quartiles and interquartile range, which sounds difficult. You know what I'm saying? It's one of a lot of stuff in math just sounds hard, but it ain't really all that. I explain it to you. A quartile is just a median of the lower half of the data, and the lower quartile is the median out of the lower half of the data. The upper quartile is the median out of the upper half of the data. That's all it is. And the interquartile range is just when you subtract upper quartile minus the lower quartile, whatever those numbers are. So
Mm-hmm.
that is. But it was like I was really impressed by that lesson because I was like, man, like this really is the essence of hystematics. Like we studying the history, the students are doing the research, they finding out about the people that they probably not gonna learn about in school. So basically, we're making the school irrelevant because we're like, all right, well, if y'all not gonna teach them, we are. If y'all not gonna teach,
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
got time to sit around and complain about what y'all not doing. We already know y'all not gonna do it. Y'all ain't never did it. So why would y'all change?
Right.
Like we don't got time to play them games with y'all. They want us to play games with them. And instead of being like, try to, basically talk shit to them about what they not doing. They know what they not doing. So, our best bet is just to do it ourselves if whenever possible. So yeah, and then they're learning the math at the same time. So they're learning the statistics and they'll remember, if the lesson was effective, they'll remember like how to find the mean, how to find the mode. And then whenever they sitting in a classroom somewhere and somebody asks them to do that, it's going to trigger that memory. Like, oh yeah, so yeah, we was talking about all these Black history figures and whatnot, and we was talking about Lumumba, and you know what I'm saying, like how they went and had to assassinate him because he wanted African people to be free, and he was a Pan Africanist, and he was in Congo and all this and that, you know. And then Mobutu and people like that was like sellouts, and they was puppets for the Western nations and everything. So all of that is part of the story and it's part of the conversation. And then they're learning math at the same time, to help quantify the information and to quantify the data. So that's what we've been doing for the past 2 weeks. Well, this is the third week of the program, and I plan to do. We're going to be doing it in Baltimore for at least the next 3 summers, and I like to do it other places as well. Try to duplicate it the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
Really thinking about what that would look like and how to make that happen because I think it's something that definitely like everybody would benefit from, like adults would benefit from it. Like it's
No doubt.
no respect. It's no respect of age or at all. Like young people need it. Adults need it too. And they would. I think it would be enjoyable. You know. So.
And because let me say this because you said you teaching a range of ages,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've been going to Holly Springs. Holly Springs, they've been having a kids cafe over there every Thursday, and last week I didn't go last. The week before last I went, and there was a sister in there. She's a music teacher and she was teaching the children music and she started with teaching them different instruments and showing them how to play and they did some line dancing and there were a range of ages. They were like preschool on up to high school, and I want to use her and you as an example of even though you have a age range, you had them engaged. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why I know that it's possible to teach our children and to have our children engaged and interested in the content, in the lesson, in everything that you're doing. is the teacher in the plan, and really making sure that they are engaged and interacting with what they're learning. And it's a testament to what our ancestors did as well in those one room schoolhouses, because a lot of times we talk about how classroom management is a problem. And it just makes me think back to our ancestors and even our elders, some of our elders. Like my parents would have been in that one room classroom at a time. And I think about the curriculum too, because the curriculum has been, in my assessment, dumbed down. And so when you have a higher standard of learning, you're going to teach at a higher standard. You're going to be uh, doing your job, and they're going to keep you on your toes to keep them engaged as well. And so that's what I'm hearing from you in the hystomatics. And let me say, I did during the summer reading challenge in the week of Mega Evers' birth. I did send out that. Remember that hystematic lesson plan you did for our share academy on Mega Evers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I sent that out in an email, and one of the parents came back and she was like, "I see page numbers on the slides. What book is Brother Akil referencing?" And I was like, "The autobiography of Meg Evans." So she was like, "Okay, I'm gonna put that on hold at the library and go get it." So I'm still using those lessons you made for us with Medgar Evers and George Washington Carver because they're very relevant and very engaging as well.
And it's so much like opportunity there because like now I'm thinking back to that lesson how I think I only used like maybe the first chapter or the introduction. I think
Hmm.
chapter one or maybe even part of chapter one. Like if I ran through the whole autobiography, like because we're talking about, I could probably come up with like easily like 500-600 questions, different mathematical questions, mathematical word problems ranging from through different types of math courses, whether it be arithmetic, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, possibly trigonometry, some calculus, some pre-calculus, it requires like a person have just the interest in our history and then have a strong math background so they'll be able to recognize it, like because whatever area of life you specialize in, you're going to recognize manifestations of that area of life in everywhere you go and in everything you're doing. Whereas like other people, you might be in a room with 50 other people and nobody else might not see it because they don't specialize in that. So like I tell people like all the time, like like the little white boy from The Sixth Sense, how he was talking about I see dead people. Like I
Yeah.
math problems. I just
Mhm.
keep minding my business, just sitting around, just looking, just staring into space, looking around, walking to a room. I sized the room up and everything. See who was in there, see what the environment looked like, what it feel like, and I started seeing math problems. They just jump out at me. So that's something that is very useful. So and I like I said, I didn't even finish. I never finished reading that autobiography. I need to finish that. It's like right on my shelf too. I know exactly
Mhm.
right in my library. But yeah, like, and that was just kind of like I guess it was like a teaser. Like, if I really had the time to really dedicate, I would, I'd be able, like I said, be coming up with a whole lot more problems. And you mentioned George Washington Carver, and I did a brief lesson on him too, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so he's a. I want to say this to anybody listening is like he's an influence for like this work too, because this whole concept of like teaching the community and which a lot of our ancestors have done. That's just what we do, and a lot of people right now in current times are doing that. But I remember reading because I read a biography written on him when my son started middle school. Well, when he transferred middle schools, he went for sixth grade. He went to one school, and then I found out about another school that I thought was superior. So I like sent him there, and the school is George Washington Carver, high school for engineering and science. It was originally a high school, but they started a middle school component, which was a seventh and eighth grade, which was meant to serve as a pipeline for the high school. So the students would already be prepared and like have an advantage. Um, so I was like, he's about to go to George Washington Carver. I don't know as much as I think I should know about George Washington Carver. So I grabbed books.
Mhm.
Started studying, learned about him and his background and what he was doing at Tuskegee and everything. And one of the things that him and Booker T. Washington got together and decided on was, there were students that were attending Tuskegee that were getting the education, but then there were a lot of people in the community in the rural area around Tuskegee that couldn't afford to go to college. So Washington was like, I want to try to educate everybody. So he set him up with this like horse and buggy and the
Mhm.
buggy was like a traveling science laboratory.
Right.
But on the weekends, Carver would go out into the community in the rural areas surrounding the college, and he would teach science. That's what he would do. He would teach science. I remember reading that. I'm like, man, and I want to say this too. Like that's a testament to the power of reading, because you know you read something, and you find out somebody did something, you're like, yo, that's a good idea, and it's like, and then you start to think about the possibilities. You think like, you know what, I could do that too, So I've been thinking a lot, about like reading, and also like people in the I guess the activist community or the conscious community or whatever we want to call ourselves. I don't even know what
Right.
but whatever it is, um, like a lot of people, it's been an ongoing thing for many years about the value of certain work and if certain people are working or not working. And there's like a lot of times there's pushback from people when we talk about like, we when we stress the importance of reading. And there are people in the community that will say things like that will try to devalue reading and say like that's not
Mhm.
really working and y'all ain't doing no work. Y'all just want to sit around and read books. And it's like, nah, it's not about sitting around reading books. It's about learning so you can develop a strategy when it's
Right.
go do the actual boots on the ground work. Because like Bobby Wright said this, like Bobby Wright said, he was, people always be critical of people that always be talking about I'm sick of talking. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Bobby Wright was like, well, them people sick of talking because they don't got nothing to say. They don't got nothing to say. They don't got nothing to really to contribute. That's why they want to run out there like with a gun somewhere, just like and just without even thinking first, without developing a strategy, without knowing any information, knowing about like, because you might be in your mind, you might have an idea to go do something that our ancestors already tried and it didn't work, and they've laid out like 10 reasons why it's not going to work. You reacting emotionally, you think it's going to work. It's not going to work, bro. Like but if you took some time and just read, then you would
Right.
know. So when it is time to run out there, then you might run out there a little more efficiently and in a little more effective way. You know what I'm saying? But I'm thinking about like recently. I've been thinking about like the systematic summer program, and I think about all the work I do. Like when I'm like really outside, like with the people and like really doing work, and I'm teaching this or I'm teaching that or I'm whatever, and like the way I do things, like a lot of it is because I read books. Like like I took the time to sit back and read, to prepare myself for when it's time to go out in the field, and get my hands dirty and get busy. Like because you got to read to prepare. So like
Right.
I just want like anybody listening to this to like don't let nobody tell you like don't let nobody discourage you from reading and try to tell you
Right.
work, because like reading and study is real work. Like even like people,
Work.
it makes no sense for them to say that, because even like in terms of like military, right? There's
Mhm.
military science. There are like books written on military science that people take the time and study. Like I said, like to prepare themselves for when it's time to like go out into the field. Like you'll be more prepared. You'll be better off. Especially when so many people have like already done the things that you're considering doing, and like they've already made the mistakes that you can learn from. And plus like some things are cautionary tales. So I just think about like another value of reading. Like reading is meant to influence you to do work, and sometimes it's motivational. Like and in all
Yeah.
fairness, there are some people that only want to read and don't want to do anything. They only want to
Right.
read and argue on Facebook and sound smarter than this person or whatever, and like all that. I don't advocate for that either. But
Right.
it's like, yeah, don't let nobody try to discourage you from reading, because like reading is where like you find out. And I've been again, like I've been very motivated by just learning the stories about like what my people did, our ancestors did, and now even if it's like listening to speeches, like listening to like Amos Wilson, listening to Kwame,
Mhm. Mhm.
listening to Dr. Clark, people like that, and I just like these ideas are like they're part of me. So
Right.
when it's time to do the work and develop the plans and write curriculum, I'm thinking about all that. Like systematics is really, I mean, Dr. Clark, he's got a lecture where he's talking about like we got to stop copping to the soft sciences and go into the hard sciences. And I felt attacked. I'm like, like talk about me, like you know what I'm saying. So I'm like, man, I gotta take math more seriously, because math is one of the hard sciences. And he's talking about, and I need to be in a position to motivate our young people to go into chemistry and physics, and
Yeah.
those where like the white boys and the Asians and the Arabs like dominate. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to get into that too. Um, But I know like math is the foundation of a lot of our young people. That don't even become an option because math is the gatekeeper. So when you
Yeah.
don't, and math is the gatekeeper, you can't even get past the math. You don't even have a strong math foundation. So it's inconceivable to you to think I would be a chemist one day. It's inconceivable to you to think I would be a physicist or I would be an engineer or a computer scientist or talk about quantum physics or anything or neuroscience or anything like that or psychobiology. Any of that. It's inconceivable. It's not even a consideration because the math is the gatekeeper. So that's another reason I'm so adamant about like our people learning math and just like teaching math to our people and our people becoming comfortable with it and it becoming normalized in our community. Like
So
let me go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead.
I just want to ask because when you say that, it just reminds me of the whole stigmatism with math in our community and why we feel like we don't need it. Because I see more and more of the posts like I wish I would. They could have been teaching us how to balance a checkbook or how to do this or how to oppose to algebra and trigonometry and all that. Can you speak to that because it's like I really feel you when you talk about critical thinking skills when it comes to math, and I really understand that math is a foundation. So how can you even understand how to balance your checkbook? How can you even understand how much you pay for that car for real? How can you understand how to invest in the stock market if you don't have those concepts?
Well, I first would say I think that I'm gonna try to say this with love. It's like a loving critique of those people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a hateful critique. It's a loving critique. A lot of that is it's an ego defense mechanism.
Okay.
They try to devalue math because they don't understand it and they never learned it. So when you start to make the comments about the school, well, first and foremost, again, back to the schools, we always talk about H. Rat Brown. What do you say? Any institution you don't control will be used as a weapon against you. Like you shouldn't even have the expectation that other people that are the descendants of those that enslaved you are going to teach you what you need to be successful in life. Like, why would you think that? You know? And even that right there, me being a person with a mathematical mindset, that is basic logic. That's basic
Mm-hmm.
logic. So when you immerse yourself in mathematics, you understand math, then certain things you don't have these thoughts. Like I would never expect that. That's not a contradiction to me. Like why they didn't teach us this? Why they didn't teach us that? Why would they teach you that? They don't love you. Like why would they? Why do you expect
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
That would be an expectation, right? So that's one of the things. Like that's one of the things. Like we shouldn't even expect that, right? Now we definitely should be teaching our own children these things, or our churches, our mosques, our community centers, our elders in the community. We should be teaching our own children these things. But again, it's an ego defense mechanism that people have and people use to make themselves feel better. So they devalue mathematics because they were never taught it. And especially like when people say things like that, algebra 2 or algebra 1 should be replaced with personal finance or replaced with
Yeah.
finance.
That's a big one.
I'm like, fine, that sounds good in theory, but you're not doing if you don't know algebra, if you're not learning algebra, you can't really do real financial literacy. And also, let me say this: like, we financial literacy is great, it's important, but we also need economic literacy because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things that you end up having to learn in financial literacy, if it's a quality financial literacy course, there are defense mechanisms. There are valid defense mechanisms that can help you to protect yourself against being preyed upon, right? But then if we have economic literacy, then we'll start to ask the question, well, why do we have a predatory financial system in the first place? Why do we have a predatory monopoly capitalistic system in the first place? You start to ask those questions. Absent of economic literacy, you may never ask that question. You may just think this is the only system that there ever has been, which is false. This is
Mm-hmm.
the only system. This is the most efficient and the best system for everybody, which is also false, right? So you'll never ask those questions. Right? You don't even ask those questions absent economic literacy. So the financial literacy is cool, but if you want to have the financial literacy, then you got to do algebra because we could do because let's say we went with that, and let's say we concede and we say, okay, you know what, you're right. We're gonna get rid of you know math or get rid of algebra 2, get rid of algebra 1, and we're gonna go to financial literacy. You're gonna be sitting in the financial literacy class if you want to let's talk about compound interest. Okay, let's do some problems, right? All right. then let's talk about these exponents. Let's talk about this solving this equation. Let's talk about, why this makes sense. And let's use the distributed property for this. And then some child gonna sit up there and raise their hand like, whoa, hold up. I thought you said I wasn't doing algebra one. Algebra one is baked into the financial literacy. But you listening to these people that don't know what they're talking about, right? And you said you didn't want to do algebra. So, but you can't do financial literacy without algebra. It's impossible, right? Unless you just want to sit around and listen to stories. I think what happens is we got so caught up, especially during the pandemic. I noticed this happened a lot. We got so caught up in listening to people talk about how much money they made doing this, that, and the third. We thought that was financial literacy.
Right.
That's what we thought financial literacy was. Oh, this person made $1 million. Or this person did this. They was in real estate, or they was trading commodities. It was, in cryptocurrency. And everybody was doing this, that, and the third and got rich. And we just want to hear stories. But when it comes time for you to learn how to implement those strategies, you got to get your hands dirty. You got to get to, take out some paper and a pen or a pencil and do some calculations yourself. It's got to be done. Or even if you use a Microsoft Excel to do your calculations, you got to do some calculations. You got to be able to think mathematically and algebraically. So, when people are saying these things and then they're saying they never use this, they never use that. Well, one thing we got to think about is that's beneficial to the maintenance of the status quo. Because again, for one thing, math is about problem solving. So if you can't solve your problems, that's very beneficial. Amos Wilson talked about, the problems in the Black community are $1 billion industry.
Right.
So the maintenance of our problems is $1 billion industry. So once you develop an ability to first identify your problems and then subsequently be able to solve your problems, you have just, that whole Black problem industry that exists will implode, right? You take the air out of it, right? Because now you know how to solve your own problems. And math is like how, Elijah Muhammad said, and Malcolm would quote him and say, of all our studies, history is the most equipped to reward our research. This is another reason that I put together Histomatics, because I believe that to be true, that the importance of history and understanding, but also math being probably the best subject most equipped to develop critical thinking ability, like you mentioned, analytical reasoning ability, and problem solving ability. So you put the two of them together, and now we can really start to make some advances as not only as individuals, but as a people, as a collective, right?
No doubt.
That's very problematic to those that benefit from our problems. So of course there's going to be so much negative propaganda around that subject that would help us to learn how to be problem solvers of our own. You gotta be programmed to believe that you can't do math. So a lot of this is social engineering and programming. Like you believe that it's the same game. Like Malcolm would say, it's the same game running all the time. Like the same thing they told us, when Malcolm talked about how, we hated Africa, back in the 60s and back in the 50s, didn't want to go to Africa. Like, I mean, some of us still do feel that way. We don't want African, whatever. Like, continent, it wasn't on. Okay, all right, brother. Whatever you say, man.
Right. I'm not right space.
You don't want to be African. People don't want to be associated with Africa. Okay, cool. But it was even worse. I would say probably in the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s. Yeah. It's the same thing with math. It's like people don't want to associate with math. If you don't want to associate with math, think about this from a labor standpoint, right? Because we need food, clothes, and shelter. So sometimes we got to go, get educated, and we got to go get a job from a white man sometimes, right? Even though I think we should set our sights higher and have a goal of understanding different subjects so we can create opportunities and build infrastructure and build businesses, and work for ourselves sometimes and work for other Black folks sometimes if possible. But the thing of it is that, if there's a certain amount of job opportunities that are reserved for those that have math ability, once you have millions of people that literally disqualify themselves by saying, I hate math is too hard, I can't do it, it's almost like affirmative action. Like when people say when affirmative action was white, it's like discrimination. With discrimination, that's an affirmative action program, because it makes it easier for white men and white women to get jobs. So so us being programmed to believe that we can't do math and that we hate math and math is irrelevant, we just disqualified ourselves from a lot of engineering jobs, from becoming doctors, from becoming registered nurses, from becoming physicists, chemists, biologists. We just disqualified ourselves from all them jobs. So somebody got to work them jobs. So it becomes a lot easier for other people to get them opportunities because it's more of them that's available. So it's really like, again, it's a hustle. It's a hustle,
Mhm.
you know. Um, like look at like popular culture, like anytime somebody wants to represent something that's difficult, right? It's always like a meme with like a bunch of math formulas in the background, right? And it's
Right.
always
Yeah.
levels like
Yeah.
some higher level, graduate level proofs and whatnot. Like most people not really doing that, right? At that level,
Right.
right? A lot of us, but when we think of math, that's what we think of. So that
Mhm.
away from it, right? A lot of us need to focus in on arithmetic and learn different strategies for doing arithmetic. That's why I like the new math, the so-called, I call it so-called air quote, the new math a lot of people complain about.
You hate, yes.
Through the concept of math, which I realized I didn't learn when I was younger. Like when I was younger, we were taught different, like um, just a bunch of algorithms, like formulas, just memorize the formulas and just go get the answer. Because it was
Mhm.
a major focus and an emphasis on just finding the right answer. It was
Right.
about the process. But that's I think that kept a lot of people from developing an appreciation for mathematics as a subject. Just because it's like you don't really get to know it. You don't really get to know the subject because you don't get to take the time to think about it. Like
Mhm.
that deep study and that serious thought process and taking time and that slow learning, as like Dr. Carr said, the slow.
Okay. So, as parents, as our children start the math, how can we learn with them? Because I know a lot of us don't have the patience or feel like we don't have the time or the energy to learn with them. But I can tell you, as a parent, grandparent that's learning with her granddaughter, that it is it's very rewarding to learn and grow with your children. So I did pull out my book, How to Use All This Math. If y'all don't have a copy of it, you need to get a copy because it will make you as a parent start thinking about math in a different way and how to use everyday occurrences to start teaching math lessons. But as I stated, I want to know because I know a lot of people know about your YouTube channel. And I'm gonna drop the link in the chat so those who don't know can go and subscribe to it as well. But just kind of give us a guide to how we can start at like the preschool level on up on learning math with our children.
So let me say this first. It's a mindset shift that a lot of us are gonna have to undergo, and the mindset shift is this: like as a parent, you got to take yourself out of the mentality you had when you were a student in K through 12, because in K through 12 there was a lot of pressure because there probably was a quiz coming up, probably was a test coming up that you was nervous about, and you felt like in the way that the school system was set up, it's like you got this much time to learn this amount of material, and a lot of time it wasn't enough time to get a decent understanding of it. But so remind yourself that this ain't that, right?
Okay.
This ain't that. You got time, right? You got time. And even if you don't get it right at first, like, with your child, grandchild, niece, nephew, whoever, that's fine. Just stay at it. You're not going to, because it's a learning process. That's what it is. It's a learning process. You're supposed to make mistakes. You're not going to fully understand it first, but what you can't do is, hit a stumbling block and say, okay, I didn't understand. And now I'm cool on that. Like I give up now. No, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Right.
You got to immerse yourself. You got to immerse yourself in that. You got to immerse yourself in that work, and just stay at it. Like keep reading the different books and keep watching the different YouTube channels um and that, again, like you plugged my book for me. So I ain't have to do the shameless plug. That was cool.
Always,
And yeah,
always.
have the book is meant for people that are a little, reluctant or a little uncomfortable with math. I wrote it with those people in mind so that you could become comfortable. Because once you become comfortable with math, it's gonna open up a whole lot to you. The world you're never gonna see the world the same again. You're not. because then you're gonna start seeing math problems. You're gonna get like me. You're gonna start seeing math problems every time you walk into a room, and it's gonna make sense. You're gonna see opportunities to share different skills with your children and with your young
Mhm.
people. So first, it's a mindset shift, right? Give yourself grace. If you don't fully understand at first, or and yeah, it's a learning process. You're learning with your child, except again, there's no pressure, right? I mean, you want your child to learn, right? But you're learning along with them, and there are resources out there, like my YouTube channel. I got a lot of over 700 videos of a lot of different math topics that can aid and assist you in that. And just like, yeah, just take your time and just commit to it, right? And then find a resource and be consistent. Now your children are in school, so if you just follow them and just work along with them, they probably going to school like and going to math class Monday through Friday. Even if they go to school where there's a block schedule, maybe they go to math class every other day. That's still a certain level of consistency. So just yeah, just commit to it. Just commit to it. Immerse yourself in it, and and I'm telling you, it's gonna feel good to you because you're gonna a lot, like they say, what is the frontal lobe is not even fully developed till we're like 25 years old. A lot of stuff that there's been a lot of mathematical topics that I've learned um that were introduced to me when I was a child in middle school and high school and elementary school that I didn't fully understand. But as a 30-year-old man, it came easy to me.
Mhm.
35, 40, it came easy to me. And I'm like, man, that's all you had to do. And I'm like, part of that I think is like, my own development. Plus, being in school, like, I was in high school taking like 8 classes. Like, what I'm saying? I didn't have the time to really dedicate as much energy and attention to math at times, And I performed well in math for the most part, but there was still some times when I had some rough patches myself. So I know how it is. I know how it is. I know what it feels like, sit in class and not understand and and not even know what question to ask or
Right.
be ask questions, because I don't want nobody thinking I don't know I don't know my stuff, right? Because I got a reputation, like a reputation, so I I can't tell people I don't know this.
Right. I don't know. Right. I feel like that with about books. Like, wait a minute, let me look that up because I know it's something out there. I mean, I know. Let me get back with you. Yeah.
So I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're in this together. We're in this together, man. Like, and I want all people to win. I want all people
Right.
to,
For sure.
yeah. So parents, like, just make the commitment. Shift your mindset. You're not in school. It's not a test on Friday. For you at least, your child may have a test, but just support them, because what I want, one of the things I want is for our children when they're in school to have the comfort of knowing that if they don't understand something in the math classroom, that there's somebody in their house that they can go get the help from.
Yes.
That would be so profound. Like, if across our community, our children knew that and felt that, had that confidence, and that was a reality for them, right? It's like, it's cool. My mom can help me. My dad can help me. Grandma, grandpa, my uncle so and so, my
And what's so cool about what you just said is that y'all, since we've been working with Brother Akil McKenzie, is she knows that if there's something in math that she doesn't understand, that we can ask Brother Akil and he is gonna come through for her. So
yeah,
it's about community and village too, because I'm telling y'all, if a Brother Akil says it to Kenzie, that's it. That's
yeah,
it. So use this, not use. He is a great resource, y'all. You need to subscribe to his YouTube channel seriously, in all seriousness, because he said it. I want us to win.
yeah.
I want us to win.
So and I'm a math teacher. I'm a professional. Like, I really do this, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years, right? So
Mm,
I got 3 children. Like, my oldest son Nassim is about to be a sophomore in college. My daughter Asada, who you probably, if you watch the YouTube channel, you've seen her on YouTube.
mhm.
With me, videos, dancing around and everything, and so her edges look right and all that. Like,
Right. And look, she said,
you got,
what she said, Mr. Akil is Mr. Parker is a hater on
yeah,
that one video. I was cracking up.
yeah, that's her. So, but and my youngest, Kwame, he's 5, so he's about to start kindergarten. Me and him be doing, putting up content on Instagram sometimes. Just like me and Sada got some stuff on Instagram too, some reels. But the thing is, like, I like most math teachers, probably if not all math teachers, I make sure my children are tight. I make sure my children, like, they're not gonna have no math problems. And if they do, I'm gonna feel like I've let them down,
Right.
so not gonna have no math issues. So I've been teaching them a lot of things from an early age. Like I'm ahead of they're always gonna be ahead of the curve, right?
Right.
But what I realize is, again, this is about communalism. This is about working with the community. It's about Ujima, collective work and responsibility. It, it's not about see capitalism will have you thinking like, I just need to make sure my kids are good, make sure I'm
Yep.
straight. That's it. The rest of y'all on y'all own. I don't got nothing to do with y'all, right? That's a mindset. That's a cancer. That's a cancerous mindset that a lot of us have. We end up adopting that. I'm like, nah, things gonna be harder for my children, because this is why. Because I'm trying to level the playing field. So they're gonna have to compete with people that are also gonna learn the same things that I taught them. Because I don't want to just teach them and then be like, look, y'all have this advantage. Now go take it, go out, and leverage this advantage. I want the whole Black community to have the same advantage that my children have. So all sources are basically, and the book is a lot of things within the book. Volume 1 of How to Use All This Math. These are a lot of things that have been battle tested. Methods that I use to, teach a side of stuff and teach Nassim stuff, and that I'm starting to, use with Kwame, So I'm sharing it because, like, you know how it is when you meet the child of a math teacher. First thing that comes to our mind, oh, you must be great at math. You
Mm-hmm.
are pretty good at math. They pretty good at math. But so what I do in the book and what I do on the YouTube channel is I'm giving you the game. I'm sharing with you how I taught my kids. So I taught my kids this way, so I'm putting you on too. So think of it like that. It's almost like you're being taught by a math teacher. And I'm also, I want to train the parents to be able to be equipped to do the same thing for their own children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews. Because that's the only way we're gonna win. You know, and I want people to, I'll give you another example. I caught up with one of my homeboys that I went to high school with. We went to college together too, but we was hanging out last night for a minute, and he's got a 2-year-old son, and he said something that was so funny to me. But I was like, man, we need that energy in our community across the board. He said, man, I'm salivating, man, waiting for my son to go to school, waiting for him to come home and have questions about math. I can't wait, man. Can't wait, man.
I'm the same way with Kizzy. I couldn't wait till she could, we started reading, and then I'm waiting for the reading fair just as anxiously as she is, because we already got our book set for the reading fair for 2025, right? Because
Yeah.
after we got first place this past week, we like, okay, we know what book we gonna do next time. So
This
it's
brother, this brother's a sharp brother. He's trained as an electrical engineer. He took a lot of math coursework, went past Calc 3. So he knows
mhm.
math. He knows it.
Yeah,
So I can't wait, man. Like I can't wait. But then we laughed about it for a minute, but then I thought about it. I was like, man, that's the energy that we need. That needs to become
yeah,
like every parent, everybody in the community, like we gotta be like salivate. I can't wait till you come home with questions about math, because I can't wait
mhm.
instead of please don't come home with no questions. Don't ask me. Like what
Right.
like that makes me think of the Wiz. Like Evelyn said, don't bring me no bad news. Like man, what I'm saying? That's
Right.
but we gotta shift that though. That's gotta be a paradigm shift
Sure.
where we're like, nah, like, I want y'all, please come home with questions. Please come home with math questions, because I want to work with you. And I'm confident. And even if I don't know it already, I'm confident that I can find a resource. I can go online. Hopefully it's my YouTube channel, but if it's not, it might be somebody else's YouTube channel that might have that content, or may have an explanation that might work better for you than my explanation does. That's cool, as long as you get the help that you need. And you had because a lot of times, like, people always say, like, this is another thing I don't necessarily agree with when people talk about the digital age that we're in, and that kind of like there's no excuse for a person to not know something. It's like, just because the information is quote unquote available, it doesn't mean that a person still has access to it. And also there's that psychological barrier sometimes. Like, if I've been traumatized by my experience with anything, like let's say math, since we're talking about math, it could be 1,000 videos available, 1,000 YouTube channels. Like I still might not want to go find one, because I got that psychological barrier. I feel some type of way, like I'm uncomfortable. So it really, I mean, some people would argue like, yeah, you got to get over that, you got to push past that, and I agree they should, but I understand when people don't, and I understand, I get it. So there's like a psychological, there's a social emotional dynamic, to all of that as well. But yeah, but I want for our people to to begin to feel comfortable with math, and to begin to feel comfortable with helping their children, and helping young people in the community with math. I want us to think about math differently. Like math should be for us. It really is. Like our ancestors. I know we always say, it gets kind of cliche. Like our ancestors developed math, so we should. Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. But again, I think we gotta push that even harder, and push that even further, because and then for some people, like if they don't have the love, for Africa, then when you tell them that your African ancestors made math, that don't really sweeten the deal for them.
Right.
So that's
Well,
it.
you know what though? Because when you said that, it made me go get this book. Have you seen this book, Women Who Count?
I just ordered that. You know why? I
Yes.
ordered that, and it just came in the mail. It's still in the plastic. It's still in the shrink wrap. I got busted open. I'm presenting in Buffalo, New York this weekend coming up at the Teaching Black History Conference. Shout out to them. Shout out to Dr. LeGarrett King and the Carter Center for teaching. I don't even know. It's a long name. That center got a real long name. My bad,
Mhm.
the actual name for it, but it's at the University of Buffalo, and it's the Teaching Black History Conference. But I'm talking about like historical exemplars, because it's like the conference theme is Afrofuturism. So I'm talking about how we need to, in order for us to have a better future as a people, we got to go back to the past and practice Sankofa. So with math, we got to know about people that were Black that excelled in math, and
Yeah.
those people have to become part of the mainstream, and they have to become part of the conversation on a regular basis, because like a lot of us, we just think that we can do stuff because we have always seen Black people doing that thing. So it just makes sense. It just seemed like, oh yeah, this is what Black people do. So if we want Black children to think that they can do math, they got to see Black people that did math. They got to learn about Black people that did math. They got to learn about Black people that got PhDs in math and taught math for years, and taught this person and that person, or people
Right.
was doing this work. So it'll be normalized, like just like how we feel about basketball and football and rapping and singing and dancing and acting and being comedians and all that. Like, we think we could do that because we see it all the time. So
Mhm.
it becomes normalized for us. So yeah, so I grabbed that book. That's matter of fact, on the cover, that's Etta Zuber Falconer. She
Yes,
taught.
from Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah, I thought about her. I thought about yeah, she
Yeah.
Spelman. She taught at Spelman for many years, and she was a provost.
Yes.
She's
Yes.
one of my slides. She's one of my slides too. Yeah,
And,
definitely.
and, and the reason I found this book was because I was looking for some information on Gloria Gilmer. You
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
she was born in Baltimore, but she did her work in Milwaukee.
Right.
And I'm from that's where I was born and spent half of my life in Milwaukee. But one of my cousins asked me, she's like, do you know about her? Because they were doing a Black History segment on people in Milwaukee. And I was like, no. So I got this. It's really good because, like you said, it's about women mathematicians, Black mathematicians, but so many did more beyond the work in math. They
Uh,
did other things too. So yeah.
yeah, you and I want to thank you. I want to thank you publicly. On YouTube. For putting on. You introduced me to Gloria Gilmer, and she was from Baltimore, and she went to Morgan like me. So
Yeah.
I was man, like these the people we gotta know about. We gotta know about these people, man, because
Right.
like it's some, like she was a girl from Baltimore, and she went to Morgan. Like, so I'm saying like young girls in Baltimore need to know about her. Like, so they say
Right.
this is what Black girls do. We become PhD mathematicians. That's what we do, right? But if you don't ever see that, then you won't think that we do that, right?
Right.
And then she got into she did a high level. She was doing work with the fractals and the
Right.
tessellation, braiding.
That's more mathematics. Hmm.
Yeah, man, like that's
Yeah. And there's a sister in here, an ancestor. Her name is Marjorie Lee Brown from Memphis.
uh
And so, if the young ladies in Memphis knew who this lady was, the third PhD in math, mathematics. She went on and taught, at a higher level, same as most of these women did. What would happen, if our young ladies knew that we could do math, not just the Catherine Jacksons, the Mary Jacksons, Catherine Johnson, and Mary Jacksons, but people. I was telling my cousin, I think I only knew of like six of them, and they're like 30 in the book. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've been fortunate. I'm part of this organization called the National Association of Mathematicians, which is it's an organization of mainly math professors that, for the most part, teach on historically Black college campuses. There's some
Mhm.
some other people in there too, but it's mainly essentially a Black mathematicians organization. You know, so I've been able to learn about some of these people like since I've been around them, and even that I'll say this to the parents too, like it's part of my own immersion. So the advice that I'm giving you to immerse yourself in mathematics is also like I do the same thing. And
Yeah.
these so people that have PhDs in mathematics for the most part, some of them are PhD students. When I meet up with them at conferences and whatnot, and these people have studied a lot more math formally than I have. Like, and to be honest, the highest math class that I've ever taken was Calculus One. I've never taken
Mm.
Calculus
Mm.
differential equations, linear algebra course. I would like to take those classes. I plan to take those classes and really delve into that higher level math, but I have not as of yet. But I like going around those spaces because it shows me like, okay, it's humbling for me. That's one of the benefits. It's humbling. Lets me know like, okay, there's still a lot more math that you already know a lot of math, Akil, but it's a lot more math that you still need to learn and have to learn. And it also what it does is I think as an educator and a tutor, it helps me to understand how my students feel sometimes when they're introduced to content and they have no idea what's going on. Because I'll be
Yeah.
sitting in them presentations and I'm like, bro, what is what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
but the difference is like I have the motivation to want to learn it,
Right.
and try to understand it. I don't understand it now. It's beyond the scope of of my understanding currently, but I have the confidence to know that I can learn it, at some point. And that's what I want for our people. I want people to, even if you encounter something that you don't understand, I want you to feel confident that you will get it, like, and again, this goes back to my point about the negative propaganda around math. Like, math is one of them subjects where if there's any resistance in terms of your initial understanding, we just write it off as if, oh, see, like I'm never going to be able to get it. It's one of the few areas or topics or subjects in life that we respond like that, where we respond in that way. Like okay, something you try something new. I mean, imagine if like well, I guess I don't know if this is a good example. I was gonna say like if a woman wants to do her own makeup and she's watching makeup tutorials on YouTube and then her makeup don't come out right, is she just gonna quit and never try to do her makeup ever again? Like,
Yeah.
nah. I think most women probably maybe have had that experience, or they like keep trying and they get better because they kept trying, and that's just what happens. Math is the same way, you know. Um, and that, it's with anything, you know what I'm saying? Like you just got, but with math, it's like, it was hard, I didn't get it right, so I'm never gonna be good at it. But again, I think that's programming, that's programming, and a lot of people buy into this other programming of this like math gene ideal, this like, I'm predestined to be a math person and whatnot. Like we all could be math people, you just got to be a person, and you just got to like be
Hmm.
able to do basic math. If you could do basic math, you are a math person already. But again, I think a lot of it in our society is a scheme just to maximize opportunities for a certain group of people. So we self disqualify. We disqualify ourselves from a lot of opportunities since math is such a gatekeeper. And it's like, all right, well, you know, we only want certain people to be able to qualify to become the chemists and the physicists and the biologists and the engineers and the doctors and the registered nurses and those anything that's in the STEM fields. As long as you say, well, this subject that I need to study in order to qualify for that is too difficult. You're making it easier for a select group of people to just not have to really compete.
Yeah. And it's something because I always think about there's a private school here, and one of the things that they talk about is all their graduating seniors, all of them have scholarships. They don't even think about that. Hey, we want all our students to leave here with some type of scholarship, and we got to start thinking like that in our community, the Black community, because I firmly believe that all our children are capable, and we celebrate the exception too much. All our children are exceptions. And when we start thinking like that, thinking like, okay, all our children have the ability to be what we need them to be, like Amos Wilson would say, what do we need? We need engineers, we need mathematicians, and that.
Yeah, that's a just reminded me of something else that I think we need to talk more about as a community. How do we celebrate the success of certain individuals in the community? I think actually at the space that we're in right now, I think we have to start training our young people and having conversations with young people to start to reject some of that recognition, because it becomes self-defeating. It becomes it's like weaponized against us, because it's kind of like it feeds into this whole like this idea of Negro exceptionalism.
Right.
Oh, you did this, right? And it's as if, and a lot of times, especially when something's in the mainstream, or what is the Euro stream media, right? When they recognize you, it's like, oh, look, you're one of the good ones, right? You're one of the exceptional ones. Like, y'all really ain't like that. Y'all really aren't that smart. Generally, y'all really aren't that conscientious. You're not that intellectual. But look, you're one of the weird ones, and we're gonna recognize you and put
Yeah.
you on a pedestal, right? And it just kind of it confirms that narrative that the collective, it does not consist of those of people that are capable of those things. So while I think we should recognize our young people that have achieved certain things,
Yeah.
and maybe
No
not,
doubt.
I think we got to have a talk about how that is perceived, and not I'm not talking about how it's perceived by like white folks. I don't really care about what they think. I'm
As
saying
a collective.
like how the Black people perceive it, like how
Right.
other people in the Black community perceive it. When we sit back and end up being like, see, yeah, she's real smart, or he's real smart, but I could never do that, right? I think conversations need to be had that may include the person that's being recognized, where they say like, yo, no, you could do this. I had
Yeah.
a, and that's another thing too. We got to be more honest. We definitely got to have our children be more honest, because there's a lot of adults walking around here that be like, in our community, and that are Black people, that will really like act as if they're really self-made, like, and be like really complaining about like certain things that happen, certain dysfunctional behavior that happens in some of our communities, and it is dysfunctional. We can be honest about it, but in the absence of certain programming, in the absence of certain community programs, certain mentorship, of course there's going to be dysfunctional behavior, right? And then there are a lot of people that benefited from a lot of community programming, benefited from a lot of mentorship, benefited from summer program, academic summer programs, academic Saturday programs, academic after school programs that may not exist in certain areas. And then you have the audacity to not carry on that tradition, not create that program, and then maintain that programming for future generations, and then just kind of sit back on high and condescend and talk about, look at what these niggas are doing, right? They doing the same thing you would have been doing had you not been exposed
And,
to the programs,
mm,
right? So,
yeah.
so it's just a lot of foolishness, man.
A lot. A lot.
A lot of
Yes. A lot. A lot. And so I always enjoyed talking with you and speaking with you, but it's so much that we can do as a community, as a collective. And you really made me think about some things tonight, as far as making sure our children are equipped in academics. We got to find these people in the community and say, hey, we got to be a cooperative learner. We got to create a cooperative learning space for our children, because I always think back to what you said about uh, our children should be learning in the community and going to school for practice.
yeah,
Because whether we want to admit it or not, the collective of Black people, our options are limited when it comes to education, because the collective of Black people don't have a space or a place in their life where they can homeschool. So we really need to start thinking about collective education. But I really like that concept, because I'm all for it. I'm all for the collective learning and then going to school to practice.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Your T-shirt got me thinking, because yesterday
Mhm.
um, is Black Power Week, right? So in the
Mhm.
program, it's Black Power Week in the program, right? So before we get into that, I had to give my students a background on some bio information on Kwame Ture. So when we talking about Kwame Ture, we get to the part we talking about his involvement with SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And, one of the things that he talked about, before he made transition, Kwame Ture was like Marion Barry. Marion Barry was his first, basically his first supervisor in SNCC. Marion Barry was a little older than him. Marion Barry from Memphis,
Mm-hmm.
was a chemistry major. And, went HBCU and what was one of the most probably important black mayors in the history of this country, for what the programs he was able to implement and what he did for the black community. Still to this day in the Washington, D.C. area and in the Prince George's County, Montgomery County area. But I just, I told my students, like, I gained a lot of respect for, again, reading is key because you learn about people. And then, you a lot of times it's cautionary tales that
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, okay, we gotta look out for this and be prepared. But when students at Howard protested in 1989 and took over one of the buildings, and there was conversation about, I don't know whether it was the National Guard or some type of police force about coming in there. There was a conversation about them coming in there and shooting them kids, and Marion Barry was like, "Nah, we're not about to do that. We're not about to shoot these kids. We're gonna figure out another way to resolve this, And then I juxtapose that with, and some older people from Philadelphia might get mad at me if they hear me say this, but I'm not worried about it. I juxtapose that with another black mayor in Philadelphia in 1985 on May 13th, who didn't thing
Mm-hmm.
when when the state troopers dropped the C4 bomb on the top of that house that the MOVE organization lived in. So, 11 women and children ended up dying. You know what I'm saying? So again, you know what I'm saying? It's just like that. That's why the understanding of history is so important. And,
Very.
just knowing, the experiences that our people have had, and being able to learn from them and then have that influence and inform, your own behavior and your own activities, going forward. But yeah, and shout out to Lemoyne Owen, a small kind of not as well known historically black college. I'm sure everybody in Memphis knows about it. Everybody in that region knows about it, but I didn't know about it until I came probably down to the Building Power Summit, and I
With
was
the Tougaloo, because it's one of the Tougaloo. It's a sister, like similar institution like Tougaloo, I think.
yeah. So, but yeah, rest in peace to Marion Barry.
And Benjamin Hooks.
And yeah, and another reason that is so, I told my students this also in the program. I said it's very important to study so you can find like more of the story, even if you don't find the whole story. When I grew up in Baltimore, so DC is not far from Baltimore, of course, and we know about the scandal that it was Marion Barry was involved in,
Yeah.
and but that's all I knew about him. So
Right.
I was young, ignorant, and I just kind of I would participate in like the jokes, like y'all, DC versus Baltimore rivalry, that that neo-colonial like African tribalism that we do, sometimes, what I'm saying, like when you're living in colonized space, right, and you have a colonized mentality. I participated in that when I was younger, and so I would be like, y'all had a mayor to smoke crack and y'all reelected him. You know what I'm saying? Like as if that incident or that vice is the sum total of that
Of
man
who he is. Mm-hmm.
ignorant. I didn't know all the work that he put in. I didn't know he was in SNCC, and I didn't even know what SNCC was at the time, probably. But when you study and you learn, then it kind of heals you from that type of ignorance, so that you can like move differently. I was ashamed like when I started learning about like Marion Barry, and
Yeah.
all how to, again, it's social engineering, because like I didn't learn about him in school, but
Right.
but I'm sure like in school they were sure to let it be known, oh, DC mayor arrested, blah blah blah, this and that, right? But but we can't rely on the schools that we don't control for that anyway. We got
Right.
we got to.
Right.
It's not even an option. It's like it's mandatory. Like it's really mandatory. It's not a game.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
Because when I went
you
and
can't opt out.
I went to a library workshop presentation at Lemoyne on, and we got to tour the library, and I learned something about the library, the Price Library. I can't think of the full name of the ancestor, but we got to visit his collection. His private collection is in the library, and he has some like first edition books, and it's really amazing the collection that this ancestor had, the Price Library at Lemoyne on. And so, you go and you visit these campuses and you walk around and you really feel the spirit of the ancestors there. It's like, we were at Tougaloo and
Yeah.
we were in that chapel and we just walking around the campus. It's like amazing. So I encourage people to go visit HBCUs. We'll be in Holly Springs in September. We'll be touring Russ College, the oldest HBCU in Mississippi. And then across the street, there's the Mississippi Industrial College, which served as a high school and an institution of higher learning for a lot of our ancestors and elders, Black ancestors and elders here in Mississippi. And that's where they would go and finish their high school education. And most of them were trained to be teachers. And so we'll be visiting that. It's no longer, in open, but it is a historical landmark over in Holly Springs. So Holly Springs, it's gonna be hopping because we're gonna visit the Ida B. Wells and all that in September, and you'll be presenting as
Yeah.
well at the Build a Power Summit. So
I
I'm
always, I
excited.
always look forward to coming down to Mississippi and building with y'all. I always look forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I really
Yeah.
appreciate being in community with y'all whenever it's possible. You know?
Well, we are looking forward to it. I know I am. I'm gonna be presenting as well. So we're gonna have a lot going on because we are gonna be working on a campaign with Rodney Lowe, President Dubsack, over at the NAACP number 5310. He's running for mayor of Holly Springs.
Okay.
He has taught us and ingrained in us that Holly Springs is the blackest city in the United States,
Okay.
87% black. So we're
Wait,
gonna
I didn't hear
be
that. What's the percentage?
87.
87%. Yeah, that's pretty black. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're excited about being over there. So yeah, so I'm gonna kind of wind down because we got to get ready for school tomorrow. Woo,
So
gotta
you
get my mind right. But again, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all one more time. I'm gonna probably post some more.
think I ain't gonna tell
Read
you again.
this book. How to use all this math volume 1, because it will have you rethinking. It will have you rethinking about how you teach math to your children, what you can do every day to incorporate math skills uh, with yourself and with your children. So yeah, so make sure you get this book. I did put the link to purchase in the chat. I also put Brother Akil's YouTube channel link in the chat as well. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel, All This Math. And then, if you just have a general question, I'm sure Brother Kill, I know for us, whenever I have an issue or problem, I just ask him, hey, what do we need to do? And usually he'll send me to the video on his platform. But go
So
ahead, Akil, you had the last words here.
so yeah, you can either and also when you subscribe to the channel, when you subscribe, make sure you comment on some of the videos. That helps me get into the algorithm too. Plus, I like to know what you think about the videos too. Like, give me some feedback. I appreciate that.
Okay.
But if you need like certain videos made that you can't find, like when you go into the channel, when you click on the playlist, or even if you just search the name of the topic within the channel, if you don't see what you're looking for, then you can like reach out to me either on Facebook or Instagram at All This Math, on social media, Facebook or Instagram. If you want to email me, I don't know, if you want to drop my email,
Mm-hmm.
it's aparker at allthismath.com. So you
Okay.
can feel free to send me an email, or there's another option. You can go to my website, which is allthismath.com, and you can just go to the contact us tab, and then just type in, your little demographic information, name, telephone number, um, your email address, so I can reply, and then just tell me what your question is. Type in your question. So
You
website,
said you said a park at alldismath.com.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But also, if you go to the website, it's going to automatically email it to me. It's like
Okay.
automatically send me the email. The contact form is going to be automatically emailed to me. So you can do it that way too. At all this math, just allthismath.com is my website.
Okay.
So that could be, but yeah.
Yeah, and you definitely want to be subscribed to all his platforms, because I'm telling you, you will it will equip you. I'm serious. I just know from my experience. I tell people all the time, I had a college student. One day I was going to the library, and this young man, he was so distraught because he was about to take a test over in the nursing department. And he was like, I just don't know, this math is math. I was like, let me show you this. Let me show you this YouTube. And so I pulled it up, and he was like, oh, shoot, it's a brother. So, he was all excited about that. And I did have a nursing instructor say that when they do the placement test for the nursing program, that this the black men that had the most trouble. And so we got to equip our men, because I'm telling you, shoot, they got the math mind. We got the math mind. They just have to have the right resources and the tools to equip them.
Yeah, that because like I said, math is a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Help unlock that gate and get through and boom.
Even for the nursing. So yeah, it's something. So yeah, but I'm not gonna hold you any longer. I'm gonna get off here, and I'm gonna tell y'all again to get the book, get the website, get everything in place so that we can have a great and successful 2024-2025 school year. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Y'all see y'all next time. All right. Appreciate you, brother Akil.
I appreciate you.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.